Hey everyone, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Jurassic World Cinematics. Before we begin today's episode, I would like to ask you to please also take a look at my gaming review YouTube channel called Konoha Reviews. You can find the link to that channel in the description down below. I do reviews of both old and new games, and you can even request some reviews, including of course, dinosaur games. In fact, I have a review of the game Jurassic Park Trespasser already filmed and coming out soon. So please take a look at my channel Konoha Reviews, and if you like what you see, then please subscribe, as it helps me out a lot. Thanks, and enjoy the rest of the episode. With the park now having received their long-awaited raptor pack, it was time to focus on some smaller endeavors once more. The raptors, with their tiger stripes, would pull in audiences for a while, so they could afford to release some pressure on the gas pedal in preparation of bigger attractions down the line. Then the question was, what dinosaur would be next? The answer was the Pachycephalosaurus. It would be difficult for anything to make an impact next to the raptors, but the uniqueness of the Pachys could hold its own. They were ultimately smaller, but their unique design demanded one's attention and focus. The Pachys were of course famous for their bulging solid dome skulls, which they used in duels amongst each other for dominance or playing. It was rare that a Pachy got seriously wounded during one of these duels, but there was always a small chance that this would occur. Therefore, all four Pachys that would head into the park had been closely monitored since birth, to see if there would be any problems with ranks of hierarchy, and there did not seem to be any. The Pachys were not as strict with hierarchy as the raptors were, and they basically had a live and let live kind of mentality. The color patterns this time were very pretty. There was a distinct difference between all members of the small group. During the process of sedating the dinosaurs, the rangers weren't too worried. They were small and in general not all that aggressive. The first of the Pachys went down without a hitch, but the dinosaurs noticed that something wasn't right, and those still standing got a bit scared. Ranger Phil was therefore not prepared on what came next. He just needed a few stitches, but was back on his feet a few weeks later. Anyway, the new dinosaurs were transported to their new home without any more problems. Pachycephalosaurus were not the type of dinosaurs that did large-scale migrations, and in a sense, were very territorial, so a small pen would be no issue at all. Immediately one could see that their new pen was to their liking. The vegetation was tall enough to where the Pachys felt safe and secure, and left enough open space for playing and running around. Four Pachys also seemed like the perfect number, as there was no conflict reported at all. Well into the evening and night, the Pachys were eating, drinking, and interacting with each other as if the past few hours of transport did not even occur. Many of the audience members of course hoped to see a fight or a duel, but it was rare for this to occur. Instead, the unique look of their domed skulls made them still a pleasant attraction for anyone before taking a gander at the raptors or Yangchuanosaurus. Then it was time for the next dinosaur. The pathing that was created made it to where another small pen could be established, which the audience could move around entirely. The inhabitants of this pen would have to be another small species due to the size of the zone, but there were still plenty of those who had not seen the light of day. So for this pen, the Homalocephali was created. This small critter had a very cute demeanor about him, and would probably be a big attraction amongst children. They were very vulnerable and used tall grass to hide in if danger was lurking. They more often were seen in bigger groups, but the pen size could not hold a large pack, so 5 were brought over, which were enough to keep the dinosaurs at ease. Their colors and stripes were very unique as well. It reminded some of an infant boar or tapir baby. It gave the Homalocephali a youthful look in the human's eye, even if they were all grown up. This time the sedation process went smoothly, since there was no way for these tiny dinosaurs to do any damage to the rangers or their vehicles. It was a bit dubious though to move these dinosaurs via helicopter once more, but it all worked out in the end. They were put next to the raptor and Pachy pen, and their cute look earned them their place between these star attractions. Just as expected, the Homalocephali loved to hide in the tall grass and amongst the bushes and flowers. But they were bigger than, for example, a compy, and thus the chance of spotting one was still bigger than with the compies in the Iguanodon mixed pen. The sounds these new dinosaurs made were very cute too, and overall their cuteness factor was their entire pool. Some of the money holders thought this could be monetized too, through plushies or cute figures in their toy stores. And though they were a social bunch, one could see too that they were very curious creatures, and often it occurred where one or two went off to explore more of their new home. Their nimbleness was in a sense their only way of escaping, and maybe they had the confidence in their speed and agility so they were not afraid to go to places they had never been before. And so it was time for something bigger finally into the park. This time the producers wanted something really big and impressive, yet wanted to hold back on the carnivores. And so the word fell on the Apatosaurus, incredibly stout and impressive. But they felt that the regular breed they had loose on the island before and in the previous parks were not that impressive looking, both with their physique and color pattern. So they ordered the scientists to make some adjustments and make them more visibly pleasing to the audience. And that is exactly what they did. When the Apatosaurs finally were flown in, they were a sight to behold. They moved very slowly but majestically, and their incredible size, color, pattern, and spikes all along the neck and back made them unforgettable. These newly bred Apatosaurus came in mostly blue and greenish variants, making them very distinct to one another. It seemed like the blue color scheme was more frequent with males, whereas the females had a less vibrant color tone. The color might have something to do with impressing a potential mate. For this large pen, 4 of these giants were flown over, making it the first few hours quite uncomfortable in the holding area. They did not have a lot of room to move, but this did give the rangers the easiest job yet to sedate them. The potency of the sedation needed to be higher than usual, but there was no way they could miss these behemoths. Once again, caution was necessary for the choppers on them transporting these dinosaurs due to their size and weight. Some had fallen asleep next to the fence, which made the attaching of the dinosaurs a bit troublesome. But everything went smoothly in the end, and the biggest dinosaurs in the park yet could finally enjoy their lives in their new home. The pen was made to suit their liking, with tall trees, a large drinking spot, and of course a feeder that would adhere to their heads being so far from the ground. They would need a lot of food and water, as just moving all that weight would take an enormous amount of energy. It did not take long before the first of the new inhabitants wobbled over to the feeding area to get some of that energy back. And thus the park had received another star attraction. The variety just kept on increasing, and people held their breath on what would be next. For the creature that would be introduced from here on out was not a dinosaur, but a giant with enormous tusks.